for access that would be great to share with the group? How would you summarize it?
Basically took the first sentence from summarization, right, providing access to a wide range of learning opportunities, activities, settings, and environments.
Right. So it's the opposite of what Amber's finding right now, access. All the doors are open. You can go anywhere you want, there's no problems. And what did you list for your strengths?
The University of Design for Learning, so they already have formats for learning.
Learning?
Yeah.
Universal learning.
Yeah, University Design for Learning. The technology that there's, by adding in technology, you can have a lot more different abilities trying to participate. And then we also have just making simple modifications for some children will allow them to have access to the facilities and learn.
Physical access, yes, absolutely. Which I would suspect sometimes when you're a home daycare provider, really the challenges come to be your own physical house and how you can make those modifications.
Yeah, we actually
That's
have
one of
that
the
as one of the
needs.
needs. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
So the needs were lack of training, also the physical barriers, especially for in homes, and then also just services and resources for family of, where do you find those families?
Right, right. And the interesting thing is there's so many resources. It's just getting people to the right place so that they can get it. And did you have a way that you felt like access worked with the Pyramid Plus?
Just that it would provide additional training and knowledge, so hopefully that will open, more knowledge, that will open the ability for people to take in more children with disabilities.
Absolutely. And kind of like what Vanessa was saying early on, Belle Swan was at one point, we're just getting swarmed with people who are bringing children with special needs because they know we can handle it. But, our vision for the world is think about it when everybody can handle it, then we can keep those ratios like you were talking about.
That's exactly
And
what
it's-
I said, because over at KinderCare, it was like, oh, well, maybe they can go to Bell Swan. They got it there. They're good.
Right.
We don't know what
but
we're
we
doing
can't
over
take all the
here.
kids.
Exactly.
Because then
So
we're out of ratio and it just
spreading
doesn't
it
work.
out
So-
and teaching all of, there's more access to all of these families that need it.
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree. I think that happens even on the elementary school. Like we were a magnet school for children on the spectrum, but then we started again getting flooded, and people were sending them from the other schools, but then the resources weren't there. It definitely.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be inclusive.
It is.
Right.
Everyone.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of inclusivity is,
Right.
Yeah.
so wanting everybody.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys have participation. What was your definition? Or what your summary of your
Great one.
Including children of all abilities in an engaging and intentional manner.
Love it. And I think the thing you're going to find that most comes through with this inclusion piece and all pyramid things is intention. Intentionally teaching, intentionally planning, intentionally embedding. Everything's got a purpose. It doesn't seem like it if you look into a room because it's flowing smoothly, but everything's there for a reason. Okay, and your strengths for the participation?
So the strengths was the social emotional development, that it promotes belonging, and the tiered model. And then we actually added a fourth. We said that it influenced the need for high quality. Right?
Great. Absolutely. And your needs?
And the needs were to embed routines, that we need to make needs for the accommodations and scaffolding.
Yes. Because really there isn't anything that if you're practicing your craft at high fidelity in best practice situations, you're already doing everything individualized for kids anyways, right? So this is really no different, but you're just taking the time to intentionally plan it so that you make sure if you're doing an activity with scissors and everybody's using regular scissors, but you need to get the scissors that bounce back open for your little friend because he's still working on that skill. Everybody still has the participation piece in the cutting activity, but maybe we have different scissors, right? Great. And how did you have it fitting into the pyramid?
Kind of repetition, but enhancing the quality of these programs overall.
Truly, the diversity piece is so powerful, I think, and can be often overlooked for how much children get out of learning from other people who are not the same as them. Because think about it when you go to your jobs, you know, not everybody is going to be the same as you when you're interacting in life. The real world is a mixture of people, whether it's language or ability or customs that they come from, different countries, different cultures. Everybody's got something different to share, and finding that way to celebrate it. Awesome. And you guys have supports. So what was your summary of support?
It's a type of service available for adults that make them competent to provide high-quality atmosphere conducive for the growth of children with disabilities.
Yeah.
It makes them competent to provide them.
Right. And the key here for this support piece, when I first started reading it, I was thinking it was supports for children, but it was actually supports for the adults. So what do the adults need in order to be confident and proud when they finish that interaction? And your strengths?
Specialized services and therapies to be implemented, and collaboration with practitioners, specialists and administrators.
The collaboration piece is really huge. I don't think anyone has to feel like they have to go at it alone. I don't have a special education degree. I don't have a background in it. I'm not a parent of a child who has special needs. So my success as a teacher comes from collaborating with other people always. And we all need that network no matter what we're doing, just as parents and teachers, but especially when we're working with kids with special needs. And did you have anything for the needs?
Professional development for practitioners, acquiring knowledge, skill and dispositions, and funding policies that must promote pooling of resources and incentives.
Awesome. You guys are so studious. But yeah, it just goes back to that fear piece. When you take out that fear piece by giving people education, information, tools, so that they can feel confident working with those children, or working with all children, it's just going to benefit everyone. And then how did you have access fitting into the pyramid? For the last question.
The access, when they have access to all these resources, it's similar to the benefits that they acquire, like they develop a positive mindset, acceptance, and develop empathy. They have all the strategies that be benefited with the creative ideas to handle those, handle the children.
So the thing I noticed about all three of your ways that it works in is it's positive, right? It's something good that comes out of it, and I think that's one of the big takeaways that we can remember. So, all right, you guys are awesome. Let's keep going. So this is where I put on my legal hat, and I'll do a little reading because it is the law. But what I really want you to take away from this is it might be an aha moment for a lot of you of what the actual legal requirements are around inclusion for little kids. So the Americans with Disability Act says that all child care providers cannot discriminate on the basis of disability. They must provide children and parents with disabilities an equal opportunity to participate in the child care center's programs and services. The real aha moment for me here is this says children and parents with disabilities. That means if you have a typically developing child, but their parent has disabilities, maybe they're in a wheelchair, or they have some other special needs, they cannot be denied either. They are a family unit. So it doesn't matter if it's just, we're not talking about just a child, we're talking about everyone in the family. So, go ahead, I'm sorry. We're so sucked into my 504 of the Rehabilitation Act prohibits discrimination against children and adults on the basis of disability by any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. This is kind of an aha moment for a lot of people because they may not realize if you're getting federal money for grants, contracts, tuition, if in any way you're getting money from the federal government, you cannot deny children the opportunity to come to your program based off of disability.
Yeah, the I was the coordinator of 504, so I'm very well versed in this, but yes, even private schools, even college, they must listen to the 504. It is pretty strong piece of legislation. So if a kid comes in with a 504 plan, it absolutely must be followed.
Yeah.
But not just receiving any federal funding, you have to be on the 504.
Just if you got a grant, if you got, what is
Does
it?
it have to be the 504?
No,
Okay.
yeah, it can be any federal money, it just means you're protected under the 504
Yeah, gotcha.
to receive those services.
And then
It
the
says loans,
school has to
contracts,
provide the
anything like that.
contracts.
So sometimes people don't realize that that you got a grant and you're now responsible for making sure that there's access.
And it's not for modifications, it's more for accommodations within the classroom. Modifications are more under like the IEPs or the I don't know what the preschool.
IEPs and IEPs. So, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act has quite a few sections of the law that pertain to us. This one's for children 3 and older. It's called the least restrictive environment, and it basically just says kids need to be in the natural setting, where appropriate, all together with children who are not disabled. So there's really not very much leniency for why they shouldn't be in an inclusive environment. It also goes on to say that special classes, separate schooling, or other ways that you remove children with disabilities from the regular education environment can only occur if the nature or severity of the disability is such that education in regular classes, and here's the kicker, with the use of supplementary aids and services cannot be achieved satisfactorily. And I think, as my lawyer hat will prove to you today, there is nothing you can't do with the pyramid model, because any kind of supplementary aid or service that you can provide, there's very few students who are going to fall in this little window of people who need to be separate.
But you'll be amazed of, and again, I don't mean to go on my soapbox, but just to kind of show you, we've gone through a roller coaster, going to the public system. And I also had to turn in my lawyer hat and become a huge advocate for my child because they wanted to place him into a multi-intensive classroom, and I don't want my child segregated. I don't want any child segregated. I'm not a believer of that. And I found this and had looked this up here, and they were basing it off of saying, well, because his disability, it was creating an issue of education for everybody else within the classroom. And they kept going over this, and I had to point out that exact same thing. With the use of supplementary aids and services, and said, well, then he needs a para. And they said, we can't afford a para. That's not my responsibility. This is based off of the civil rights of my child. He is due to have a para. Back and forth. Not all services have been provided, and so we got a para. So again, just having this information is imperative, even for us as educators to be able to provide that to other parents and letting them know you don't have to be completely dependent or reliant on whatever they may tell you. There are services and resources available, and it is your child's civil right to attend any school.
And there's lots of schools that are still doing this. I mean, we'll get into some of the data later, but pulling kids out, they'll say, oh, we're inclusion, they come for snack time, or, we're inclusion, they're in the same building. Yeah, that's not inclusion. So we'll get into that later, but you're right, yeah. Good for you.
Yes.
Too.
And then this is the part of the law that speaks to children that are birthed to 3. And it just says that to the maximum extent the services can be provided in natural environments. So you'll find that children, like in our class that are toddlers, if they qualify for services, therapists are going to come to their home and provide those services in their home. Once they turn 3, they're no longer going to provide them in that natural environment. They're going to provide them where the kids come to the therapist's office or wherever they are at. So for the most part, they're going to keep it natural. You're good. So what are some of the strategies that we can do to make sure we're meeting the law, the requirements of the law? Everyone can do this, whether you're a home provider or a school or working with a district, but everyone has recruitment, enrollment, and employment policies and procedures. And take a look at those and make sure that they aren't discriminating against children with special needs. We talked about that physical environment. It's a big one in a lot of places, whether they're preschools that are being used in older buildings or homes. I mean, that physical component can be really big. Even here at Bell Swan, where we're set up to handle those things, you know, when Vanessa and I were teaching, we had children who were in wheelchairs, and they take up a lot of space, and we had a tiny room. And so we had to rearrange the furniture to make sure that we had the pathways clear so that this child could get wherever they needed to go independently. Scheduling time for staff to meet and come up with ways to prepare for the inclusion, that intentional piece. If you have the luxury of being your head boss and staff, that makes just the effort of taking the time to put in that planning piece a little bit easier than collaborating with a lot of other people. And just investigating other ways that you can accommodate children or the families. Like I said, maybe you have a parent who has a disability. This is based off of that specific legislation, but setting up a system and a process and a protocol when a child is developed. Does the staff know what to do when they have a concern with a child? Do they know what resources to tap into, who to talk to? Do they feel comfortable with that process? For the families, like you said, when you have to spring this on them and they're thinking they have this perfect child and there's nothing wrong, and you're trying to tell them that you feel like there's some red flags that need to be looked at. Are they aware? Can you support them? Do you feel comfortable guiding them through that process, or at least supporting them? And really, communication is the key, that collaborative piece, working with therapists, working with the families. When everybody's working together and on the same page, where they're all really working to advocate for that child, it goes well. This is, I think, a great quote. It says, "We can continue to presume incompetence, ensure dependence, helplessness, and isolation of people with disabilities, and maintain an us-them society, or we can presume confidence and create communities where everyone, all are valued and included." So this references that people first quote, and that's kind of one of the first steps in working with it. But we're going to spend some time now moving into what the best practices are for inclusion in the classroom or preschool setting. So some of the research that's been around to support inclusion says that progress has been achieved in efforts to ensure access, particularly for the preschool age kids. But as we're going to learn later, it's not a reality everywhere all the time. So what we know is it's best practice, and we have the data to prove it, but the implementation right now is a little bit lagging. Children in inclusive programs do at least as well as children in specialized programs. They can benefit, the children with or without disabilities benefit, especially when it comes to those social skills. So there's nothing that has ever shown that a child is going to do worse by being in an inclusive environment. Collaboration among teachers and parents and specialists is the cornerstone. And I mean, just think about it in everything you do. Working together makes things better. Putting your minds together, you can solve a lot more problems. And typically developing children continue to learn and grow. They're going to be more accepting of people who are different. They don't learn inappropriate behaviors. And when inclusion is high quality, everyone has successful experiences. I can speak to that as a parent. So my girls went here a long time ago. And like I said, I felt like sometimes you might have parents who are parents of typically developing children who are worried that their child's going to pick up bad habits, or, you know, the child who's biting or doing things, and then they go home and start biting too to kind of try it out, or that they're not going to be accepting of the other kids and it's going to be that us versus them. But I can say from my personal experience, it has been nothing but good. And even when my daughter was in middle school, I got a handwritten letter from one of her teachers in her class who told me how impressed he was with her. They had a child in their class who had special needs, and he often interrupted and interjected in a socially inappropriate way, and the other kids made fun of him. The other kids weren't patient with him, and he could not tell me. He just glowed over what a great job Avery had done, that she was so patient and kind and thoughtful towards him, and she was willing to understand that he was different and maybe he needed a little extra time or just kindness. And I was so touched by it, and I just knew that that came from her time being here with all sorts of different kids of different abilities, and she just knew that it was okay. He just needed a little extra accommodation. So those are lifelong lasting skills that you don't realize your kids are picking up when they're in that environment, but I think the world needs more people who are tolerant of these things. So, the other things are inclusive settings provide children the opportunity to improve. Families want kids to make friends. Doesn't matter if you're a parent of a child with special needs or not. That social piece is their high priority outcome. Molly and I take conferences every year. We sit down with parents. They tell us what's the most important things they want to work with. Every single parent always says social skills. And think about it, they are truly important, and the more and more research is coming out that's just stressing what the most predictive indicator of how well your child is going to do in life is social skills. Not how well they read, not how well they do their math, it's the social skills. And this kind of sums it up again. There's no study that has found pulling people into separate groups is the optimal way of doing things. Inclusion will get the greatest impact, especially when it comes to language and social skills for all children. This just kind of sums it up. I mean, as with anything, policies, resources, and beliefs influence the acceptance and implementation of inclusion. So people advocating for it, people standing up for it, people demanding it, that's the only way that it's going to spread. So this is some data from preschool, and it actually ties into your trivia question today. But in Colorado, you can see there's about 12,000 kids who have been identified from between 3 and 5 who have special needs. And hot dog, we're doing a pretty good job. 93% of all children are receiving services in an inclusive environment. It's not 100, and that's a goal. I hate to give away the trivia answer so early, but nationally, it's 42%. It used to be 35. So that means less than half of all the children in the U.S. who have special needs identified, they are not receiving inclusive services. So we have a long way to go, but the good news is Colorado is a pioneering state for them. So what does a high quality inclusion environment look like? You're doing it every day, all the time. It's not just at lunch, it's not just in the same building. The children are together for all the activities. If necessary, peers are taught how to interact with children with special needs. You know, sometimes it's almost like the hot buttons for adults. There's just certain things that you need to know when interacting with people, just like probably interacting with your husband. Like, you know, when this happens, I'm going to do this. It's the same thing with little kids, but that intentional piece is there. So instead of letting it happen over and over again, we're going to replace it. We're going to teach children what they need to do. We're always going to rely on data to make those decisions. And when necessary, we're going to set up some specialized strategies, equipment like those scissors. We're going to do things to help make that inclusive atmosphere happen. And the ratio that data recommends is that for every 2 kids that are typical, we would have 1 kid with special needs, so it's kind of that 2-to-1 ratio. In our classrooms, we have 8 kids in our toddler classroom, and we allocate 2 spots for children with special needs. Also because we usually end up identifying a little bit more. So if you'd like to get some more information, there are a lot of checklists out there. You have some in your handouts, but they're instruments that are designed for you to assess the quality. They're based on data. They measure a lot of evidence-based indicators. And here's a link to one of them that you can check out if you'd like to start getting a little more serious and make sure you're covering all your bases. We have some other ones coming up a little later. So the question remains, if we've got all these laws that passed 30 years, and we know best practice supports inclusion, why are we still struggling? Why is it 42% in the country? So some of the challenges revolve around policies and procedures and attitudes and beliefs. A lot of the collaboration, coordination, it doesn't happen. There's cracks in it. It falls apart. Like we've talked about before, that training and experience, that comfort level keeps people from trying it. We have to acknowledge that there's a fiscal component that comes with it. Needing a pair costs money. Needing special equipment costs money. Modifying your houses so that it has a ramp instead of stairs or something, it costs money. And the transportation piece can also be a challenge to work with for the schools, the school buses, and even for parents getting the kids where they need to be. And then that attitude and belief piece, a lot of turf protection going on, that staff education that we were talking about with access, and just a lack of awareness. Sometimes people just don't even realize or know. Or they have a misconception in their head and it hasn't been changed. So the first thing we're going to do, I think this would be a nice place to take a break. We're going to do this activity and break at the same time because this is a walking around activity. You guys have been super awesome, and I promise you there's more activities that come where you're not doing so much sitting. But for this activity, you can, let's see, I need to give you some pieces. And let's see. I'm going to give you guys sticky notes. You can self-reflect. I've got 2 posters over here on the walls. I will show them to you here, but I can shut the doors if you need. This one says challenges, and this one says strategies. And this is just kind of an opportunity to self-reflect on one challenge and one strategy that you thought of in respect to inclusion. If you'd like some ideas, you can look at handout 2.8, which was the one right before it on your handout. That's the one that was that big long list. It's got its boxes and it has challenges and challenges on the left and strategies on the right. But just take some time to think about. It says you can pick one to put on each, a challenge and a strategy, but if you're feeling it, you want to put more than one, that's okay too. So take this time to walk around, and then we'll also take, let's say 5 minutes, just because I don't want you guys to get out here late. Let's say 5 minutes, and you can use the restroom or do whatever else you'd like to do, stretch your legs. Does anyone have any questions about what we're going to do? We'll kind of regroup. This is kind of a 2-part activity, so we'll do a little individual work and then we'll do some group work in a minute. What's one challenge and one strategy, and then you'll put the challenge on sticky on the challenge board, and you'll put the strategy on the strategy board, and then we'll kind of debrief after that. Any other questions?